I was running wild, fell in love with the chase. I've been up and down and all over the place, wasting all my days and nights, never feeling satisfied. Putting on a smile, I was keeping it fake, but there's no imitating what I found in your grace. All the things I left behind, as shadows now I've seen the light. In my head and my soul, my heart, my all, I know that I know, never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. Never, never am I ever getting over with you. Nothing will change it. All I can say is never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. I've got a million reasons why I can't be the same. You've got me looking forward, never turning my gaze. Forever, God, it's you and I, together till the end of time. In my head and my soul, my heart, my all, I know that I know, never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. Never, never am I ever getting over with you. Nothing will change it. All I can say is never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. Your love is patient, love is kind. Your love is never hard to find. Forever I am yours and you're mine. Alright, oh. Never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. Never, never am I ever getting over with you. Nothing will change it. All I can say is never, never have I ever found a love so good, so good. Never have I ever known. Oh, never have I ever known.
Hello and welcome to the Young Adults live stream. Wherever you are joining us from this evening, you are so welcome. It's great to have you watching along with us. We've got lots of exciting things happening this evening. So in a moment, we'll go into worship, and then we've got an incredible electric interview brought to us by Pastor David, who's going to interview just a few of our ministry heads. It's going to be entertaining, it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be deeply inspiring too. First of all, just some notices for you, straight off the top. We hope that you will be joining us at the YA Zoom tomorrow at 7 o'clock, which is just, if you haven't been, where we meet together, we have a bit of a chat and some fun, we chat through some scriptures, and then we pray for one another. It's a great forum to connect with people and to go a little bit deeper in relationships in a time where that's quite difficult to do. We're also very excited to announce that episode 2 of the Real Talk podcast went up on Friday. We are so proud of our podcast. This week's title is Baboons and Battles, where we talk about, among lots of things, what the biggest animal you reckon you could take in a fight is. Why not let us know in the comments what your answer is? And does anyone reckon they could take a cow? Because I think that's quite optimistic myself. And finally, we'd love to see you in church on Sunday online. Make sure you're there. Put a little hello in the chat when you do, just because that warms my soul to see your name pop up in that YouTube chat section. We're about to enter into a time of worship, but before we do, I'm just going to pray. Lord Jesus, we welcome you now into our homes. We welcome you into this room, into this building, and into buildings all across the city. Lord God, would your kingdom come right now as we dedicate time to pour out our spirits to you, Lord Jesus? Would you come and meet with people? Would you break through in their hearts, in their homes, in situations in their lives, Lord Jesus, as you speak powerfully through this worship, Lord God? Amen. Well, wherever you are, why not stand to your feet and be ready to welcome the living King into your living rooms and bedrooms this evening.
Yeah. Come on, let's worship together. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so kind to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Come on, the overwhelming. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. We're so thankful for your love. Our lives have been changed by this love. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Wherever you're watching from today, our prayer for you right now is that you would encounter the love of God. The heart of the Father is to reveal more of his love to you right now. Just open up your heart and receive from him this Monday night or whenever you're watching this. 'Cause I am loved, 'cause you are loved. Your life can be changed by this love, 'cause I am yours and you are mine, Lord. Come on, why not just say thank you to God right now for his reckless, unrestrained, and unparalleled love. Thank you, Lord.
We praise you. Great. We're just going to transition to our interview zone, which is just behind the camera now. So bear with us for a couple of seconds while we get that sorted, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
In the darkness, we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes, to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory, to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom coming, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering, you saw to the others.
Well, we're privileged to have so many amazing young adults here at TLC. And tonight, I feel completely honoured to have with me three people who are very, very precious to Susan and I, who carry great roles here at TLC and Open Hands, and for me are amazing role models in the church and beyond. And so I'm just excited to talk to them. So then, come on, guys. Full name, including middle names. Let's have them.
Yeah, Joshua Matthew Smith.
Matthew, that's
Matthew,
excellent.
yeah, great middle name.
Fantastic.
Thomas John Hind.
Thomas John Hind, yes.
Hey.
Bethany Joanna Corbett.
Bethany Joanna, I like Joanna. Any of you had a song written about your name?
I haven't, no. That's probably a good thing, because neither of my parents could sing.
Probably still can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did actually. My father wrote me a song. To be honest, a bit dated lyrics, but great song. Do you want to hear it?
Very, very quickly, yeah, go.
Thomas, Thomas, John, you are lovely. Thomas, Thomas.
It was lovely. It was written from my heart. So, okay, describe yourself in 5 words.
Yeah, so you ready? Ready for this? Spirit-filled,
Oh, yes.
risk-taking, blagger.
Spirit-filled, risk-taking blagger.
Yeah.
Bethany.
I'd say adventurous, spontaneous, random, courageous and brave. Hopefully.
Yeah, nice.
Great.
Always ready for an adventure.
Yeah, brilliant. Love that. Go on then, Josh. One baby story for people watching.
I prepped this with Alice earlier on, and we're trying to think of what story to tell you. So the first doctor's appointment that he ever had, I shared this in a preach a while ago, so I'm sorry if you listened. He gets in, and the lady's calling him by the wrong name for the entirety of his visit. She's an Eastern European, wonderful doctor, but she couldn't say Levi, so she kept calling him Levi.
Levi.
And then after a while, she was changing Levi, and in response to her calling him the wrong name, he weed all over her. So we enjoyed that. I thought, like, that's my lad right there.
Fantastic. Remind him of that when he's 18.
Yeah, I will, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. One girl story.
Well, I've got 3 daughters and 1 wife. And they are the loves of my life. So I've got many stories for my girls, but one that comes to mind is Zoe. So, by the way, the girls are watching right now. So, hey, it's nearly time for bed. So yeah, Zoe, we were teaching her to try and get to use the toilet. So potty training is great fun. We've done it 3 times. Well, we now have 3 successes, but with Zoe it took a while. And so we said to her and tried to show her, give her incentives, make it exciting. And then there was the day she pooed on the toilet, and we just thought, that's fantastic, we've done it. And we said, Zoe, you've cracked it. You've cracked it. She goes, I cracked it. And then the next day she came up to us and she went, Mummy, Daddy, I've cracked it in my pants.
That's so good.
So yeah, only a 2-year-old gets away with that.
So good.
Beth, give us an adventurous story from your life in the last couple of months.
Well, last couple of months have been a bit tricky to go on adventure. But recently I did try and do the 3 peaks within Leicester. So we went to Bradgate Park, Beacon Hill, Barden Hill, and part of the route took us through a quarry, which I don't think we were meant to be in. So we asked the guy who was around which way to go, and we went completely the opposite way so we could go around a quicker path. But yeah, I'm sure that was allowed. Sorry if you're the quarry manager there.
You think the quarry manager...
The quarry manager's on our street. That's exciting.
If the quarry manager's
got it
watching
right.
right now, I'll personally give you £25.
Only 25, you tightwad.
Fine, you offer more?
No, I don't think I want to. Right, okay, quick fire. Favourite takeaway?
Indian.
Chinese.
Ooh, Saturday night with Ant and Deck.
Football team?
Cardiff City.
Just England.
England, Derby County.
Ah, yes! A book you love other than the Bible.
The Book Thief. It's a fictional book. Love
Yeah,
it.
great.
Lord of the Rings, and from a Christian book, Soul Keeping. I'm really enjoying.
For me, it's easy, influenced my life a lot. The Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah.
Explains a lot of that.
If you could have one type of sweet, what would you have?
I wouldn't. I'd have crisps. Controversial.
What type of? What's your favourite crisp though?
I would have, I don't know what they're called, like the actual version. The Aldi sell them as pop-outs. They are phenomenal. So good.
Nah, but good.
They are.
Sweets? Favourite
I'd
sweets?
go for the egg in Haribo. Like the foamy ones. Love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the egg is my favourite in the Haribo.
Wow.
But
Right.
no, not as good as the mini jelly baby from Star Mix, and you all know what I'm talking. No, from Super Mix. You all know what I'm talking about. Little red packet, tiny little man. Beautiful.
Bath or
Keep talking
bath?
to the camera.
Bath.
Bath, of course.
Bath.
Scone or scone?
Scone.
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 No.
No,
100%.
it's wrong.
That's right.
It's wrong. On your scone,
Correct.
do you have on your scone? I don't even know what I say. I've forgotten.
Definitely
If you
scone.
have a cream scone, do you have butter as well as the cream and the jam,
No.
or is that just me?
Horrendous.
No, that's probably why.
Cholesterol overload.
It's like
Well,
cholesterol's
your
a bit.
cholesterol's a bit higher than it possibly should be. as a
Followed
senior
by
leader.
bacon sandwich. Just to watch it down.
Meringues, a few eggs. That's great.
Yeah, do you know, I always used to go jam first, but I had my first jam on top of the
Yeah,
cream
so much
the other
better.
day, and it was great. It contained the cream. I didn't expect that.
So then,
You can write that down at home.
have you ever been in detention?
Yes, many times. No, more than I'd be proud of. There's a Saturday detention I had, which I can't say live on air why I got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in detention 3 times when I was in year 7 actually, and the first time I got away with it actually because I once broke a human bone in biology by hit drumming it on the side of the table. And my teacher, I said to them, please no, my dad said I can't get a 3rd detention or I'm going to get in trouble. So I think she was at risk of some kind of serious harm at home, so she let me off. But no, I got a detention because once we were playing football in the playground at our school, and again, if you're watching Mr. Nifton, I'll be very surprised, but I am genuinely, you have to believe me, it was an accident. We turned around and I took a ball from the goalkeeper. First time, I turned around, swiveled, hit the best volley I've ever hit, which flew directly into the side of the head of my French teacher and also my RE teacher. He was a 23-stone man. and he fell to the ground. And later that day, I was called into a meeting, and I had to keep a straight face while Mr. Wilkinson, the head of year, said to me, I need to say that Mr. Nifton says he was lifted off the ground by the force of the shock.
Come on.
Whoa! And there's the moment when you go, oh, no, I didn't mean to do that, but, oh, that's one of my greatest achievements. But it was complete accident, but he thought I did it deliberately. He overestimates my ability.
Phenomenal aim.
Mr. Nifton, you like that? An embarrassing moment in your life.
I remember being about 5-6 years old, and the house next door to ours that we grew up in was severely overgrown, their back garden. It was a real mess, and we thought that no one lived there. Turns out the day they were selling it, which I didn't know, they had loads of people reviewing the house. A few of my friends and I were outside in the garden playing together. Decided that I couldn't be bothered to go into my house to use the toilet, so went into the next door neighbour's garden, started peeing everywhere, as all the onlookers were looking through the window at me. It's a horrible moment.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
that
bad.
statue looks realistic.
Yeah. Where's that water coming from?
Somebody I know once went into a field and was a lady was leaving herself, and a train went past her on the track just as she was there. I don't know.
You know.
Yeah, it's somebody you know. Maybe they're
Somebody
even
you know,
watching
yeah.
on this stream, Susan. And so, Beth, one of your proudest moments, and why?
I was trying to think about this because, like, you could say like degree or buying a house, but I think for me it was the time I swapped the doors on my fridge freezer over on my own.
Oh,
I had to go
Good effort.
under it, lift the whole thing up with one hand and with a spanner, sort the rest out, and I was proud of that.
that's very, very good. Okay, I've asked you to prep this. Your testimony in 20 seconds. Are you ready?
Who's going first?
You got 20 seconds. You.
Me?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Go.
So I was born into a Christian family. Mom and dad raised me to follow Jesus. I made my own decision at about 4 years old, but it didn't become real till I was 12 when I was filled with the Holy Spirit. Since then, I've found that even through highs and lows, God's been a constant source of joy, provision, and care for me on my journey.
Fantastic. 1 second left.
Come on.
Brilliant. Beth, are you ready?
So I grew up in a Christian home, so I went to church all the time, but really it was when I decided to follow Jesus for myself as a kid. But then I struggled a bit with understanding grace, so I thought I had to kind of work out my grace and figure out things. And then when I realised that's what it was all about, that's when I really came and gave Jesus my life and yeah, trusted him in it all. It's so off-putting seeing the seconds
The
click
time.
away.
Are you ready?
All right, I have practiced this. Hey, you got to tell me when you started.
Ready, steady, go.
So I was born, ginger, 9 pound, 10 ounces, fully loved, grew up in a fully Christian environment. Every night a promise was spoken over me. I'd be a man who asks questions and gets God's answers. So I declared my faith age 5, filled with the Spirit age 11, baptised at 13, sold out for the gospel ever since. And just as was spoken over me, I've always asked questions and I believe I found the answer and his name is Jesus.
Boom.
Very good, very good.
You were prepped.
I did that 4 times in a row this afternoon while the kids were shouting in the other room.
Love it.
So I want to talk about some specific topics today. I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with relationships. And so Beth, because lots of people, lots of young adults talk about the importance of friends. How important are friends to you? And have you got any tips on making friends? Because you are friendly with every person.
Yeah, I mean, you need people around you, don't you? Because I think, because I'm quite an independent person, I actually have to go out my way to remember to reach out to other people. But friends are so important because they bring a different perspective on what you're seeing. They can encourage you in what you're doing, but also be really honest. And you need like someone else's perspective on what you're doing, right and wrong. And yeah, just to live life out with other people is just what God has made us to do.
Yeah.
Making friends, I just say go out there. What is it you're interested in? If you currently don't have friends, do that, and you'll find the people who kind of connect with you on a basis, whether that's in church or a hobby or something else.
Yeah.
You just have to go for it.
Great stuff. You were married young. I'll probably ask Tom about that in a moment. But you were engaged, and I remember. I mean, I remember when you first met Alice. But anyway, you can talk about that if you want.
Story,
But what was it like being in leadership, being engaged, and trying to stay pure?
Yeah, so to give you a bit of an idea, so Alice and I were married at 19 and 22. I was 22, she was 19. Engaged the year before, so 21 years old, leading youth work, engaged and having to teach the kids that I was leading about purity, which means that you've really got to live it out in your own life. because otherwise you're going to get found out if you're teaching and not following through. I found that having a Christian girlfriend or fiance was incredibly important, because when you come at something together with the same perspective and end goal, it makes it so much more achievable. So if you're in a relationship and you're struggling in your purity, firstly, is the person that you're dating Christian or not? If not, it's not going to get any easier. We found that we made certain decisions. So we made it all the way to our wedding night and we'd never slept with one another, which was a victory. It was breakthrough. It was much more Alice's strength than mine. And but we,
So this is an honest reflection.
Yeah, but towards the end of that engagement period, if she was at home on her own, no one else in her parents' house, we wouldn't go into her house together. So we'd go to a coffee shop and play cards, and we spent a lot of time in coffee shops, just to make sure that we tried to remove temptation as much as we possibly could.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it was a challenge, but so worth it.
So worth it. And Tom, when did you meet Philippa?
Yeah, so it was, I guess, quite a normal time that people meet their spouse, isn't it? I was 10, she was 9. She asked me out via my friend Josh Moxon.
Yes.
I remember those romantic words. He came up and said, "Would you like to go out with Philippa or Jessica?" And I said, "I don't mind." And he came back and said, "It's Philippa." So that was it. That was our relationship begun. And I genuinely, over the years, have grown to, Philippa's my best friend, and we grew in friendship, and we fell in love deeply, and we knew from an early age that we'd get married.
So how old were you when you got married?
I was 19, she was just 18.
18. So what do you think about young marriages?
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't say about young marriages, because I don't want to just have that as a bracket. It's what do I think about marriage? I think the what needs to be in place for a marriage is the same whether you are just turning 18 or if you're 78. But obviously, pension is part of the story if you're a bit older. So I would say, if you are great friends, if you have had those honest conversations and are still in love, and if Jesus is at the centre, then I would say there are 3 of the things that I would say suggest you're in that place, ready to commit to one another in marriage. And when I say the honest conversation, I mean those conversations where you sit and where nothing's off the table, where you sit and share, and the things you thought you may never share, you do, and still love is received and given. I tell you, talking about marriage, lockdown and the last year, that's been what I would call the marriage test for any couple in the country. I saw some the other day about the divorce boom that's coming. That's not something to celebrate.
Sad.
It is sad, and I'm happy to say that we've made it through because we've built it on those 3 things. We've built it on our friendship, on complete honesty all the way through, and on Jesus.
Great, mate.
Because it's interesting, you've talked about purity and friendship, and you've talked about marriage, and for all of you, people probably forget that you have been leaders as young people. Has that not always been easy, or has it just been something you've grown into? Because people look at you and you're a leader and you just got it and whatever, but you're also a young person facing life. Has that been easy or a challenge?
To be really honest, I've found leadership to come relatively naturally. It's never been something that I've forced. You're thrown into the deep end if you're leading church and church ministries. Although, this is not just to be overly kind to you, we've had leaders that have championed us from when we were young. That's the reality, isn't it? I imagine if you're a leader and you feel a call to leadership, but you're not being championed, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah. We'll come back to some of that. Perhaps you got a bit more later on. Let's talk about church. So I knew Bethany when she was born. So she was in our church in Nottingham. I think I dedicated you, but I can't remember.
I remember you being in a dedication photo in the back, looking out, checking everything was okay.
Do you remember that?
Well, I got a great memory.
So have you always felt engaged in church?
Honestly, no. I've always been going to church, but I think at times I didn't understand its relevance or importance. I heard a lot of things you take for granted the message of the gospel at times. So when I was a kid, I served in the kids' work, but with the younger kids, 3 to 4 year olds. I was there most Sundays, and I enjoyed that because it meant I got to go out of the service. Later on, when I was older, I realised how much actually what I had heard and what I'd imparted and naturally absorbed had already affected me and changed my character more than I realised. And I realised I needed to listen to more of it because actually I was nowhere near Yeah, at the point I should.
When you came to Nottingham, to Leicester from Nottingham to come to university, Susan and I were so excited when you visited TLC.
I didn't even know you guys were here.
We were just so excited when you visited. We were at Moat. And all these years later, you've not managed to escape. Josh, what about, why is it important to be in church regularly? Because you're passionate about being there.
Yeah.
But, why is it important for anyone? Perhaps we've got a 1 in 6 weeker watching, or, or maybe doesn't come at all, or, every other week as long as there's no football starting at 12 o'clock. What do you think?
Someone's just tuning in after Boris.
Yeah, the brief's just finished and now you're on. So you prioritise what you care about, don't you? So if you're a football fan, you prioritise going to games or watching games. If you're a Jesus follower, prioritising him, his presence and his people should be part of the package.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pick and choose what parts of Jesus' theology and message and impetus we want to use in our life. We've got to take the whole thing. And he talked regularly about the church, the kingdom relationship.
Yeah.
For us, we've prioritised being in church. That was before we were leaders.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the Christian journey is meant to be done on your own.
Yeah.
It's not.
Great.
We need people around us. And if you want to be surrounded by Christians and people who are going to input into your life in a positive way, then church is so necessary, especially in a culture right now that is incredibly lonely.
Mm-hmm. What was it like growing up as a pastor's kid?
Well, people might be aware, but the man opposite me is also my father. He sired me many years ago.
Sired?
Sired. Growing up as a pastor's kid, there's nothing to describe it. Any PKs, just get in the chat. But yeah, it really is a very unique scenario. You do, as Beth said, you learn by osmosis. You're surrounded by things that are of God all the time. I used to wake up and you'd be playing your piano with your latest smash hit worship banger, like coming through the floorboards into my room, and you just learn the presence of God, and you're around it all the time, and you see the discipline of reading the Bible and prayer, and you see it in life. But being a pastor's child is hard. Or I guess eyes are on you. Yeah. And in that moment, when you're surrounded by this, you could say a sea of people who know your name and you don't know theirs. You can either sink or swim. And I've heard stories of sink. I learned to swim. Yeah. And this is why I'm here. Great. I thought I'd be a teacher. I thought I'd follow in my mum's footsteps. And God had different plans. So one day I hope that through what I've learned, I'll be able to impart that to my daughters and help them to swim as well. Amen.
Big things for young adults. Okay, so just think, what do you think about social media?
I mean, I was chatting this through, so you gave us a bit of a headline of what you were going to ask us. And Alice read that question and then giggled, because I don't really use it very well. I think social media is a brilliant tool to connect people, and it also has a phenomenal capability to distract and to pull down those whose eyes are fixed on it too tightly. For me, it is... For us, guys, if you're watching this and you're a young adult or a young person and you've tuned in, don't allow yourself to be drawn into comparison. Because social media is the comparison center of our universe. You look at other people's photos and what they've done and what they've eaten, where they've gone on holiday, and it instantly makes you feel rubbish about your own life. So I think social media is a great tool when it's used well. So we wouldn't be streaming this to you without social media. That's the reality. It's been incredibly helpful through this season. But if you don't use it wisely, and maybe if you're a bit more obsessive in your personality, I'd say put restrictions on it, how long you spend on it. Otherwise, it can just control your life.
Are you enjoying the fact that I've learned how to do a broadcast message in WhatsApp?
Broadcast group, yeah.
Are you enjoying that?
Brilliant.
There's been quite a few coming through, have you noticed?
Yeah, many. I've had 5 or 6 in the last 5 or 6 minutes. So
no, that's not...
You've actually set up a group while I've been sitting here. Yes,
it's called an
for us
interview.
It's round the table during interview, and you've added to say thanks for that.
How do you view money and material possessions?
Well, the truth is, it's never been a huge issue for me. The overvaluing of money and material things. Sometimes to the other end of the spectrum, where I need to steward it well and steward it better. I've never been the person who kind of covets the latest fashion item or worries too much about extension. Well, I mean, this H&M beauty is incredible, but still.
Beard oil.
I meant to shave that I didn't, because these things are just fleeting to me. I would say, and I thought about this, imagine the tyres of a car. So when you look at a car, the first thing you think isn't the tyres, okay? But you still need the tyres to get from A to B. And if you don't check the tyres well enough, then you run into problems down the line. So I would see your finances like that. So make sure you keep an eye on them, see the wear and tear, upkeep them well, but don't make them the main thing. You know, there's somebody who lives on my parents' street who've got these massive, have you seen the fat tyres?
Yeah.
Those massive tyres, they just look ridiculous. Anyway, so make sure you do be like me. If you're like me, steward your money well, care for it well, but don't let it become too important. In the end, it just gets you from one place to another. Yeah. And that's what it's about. It's not about the tyres itself. It's about the journey you go on. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
I feel
Thank you, guys.
I feel it needs some work.
No, it's good. No, it was good. It was good. It was excellent.
It's great.
How important is it to know what the call is on your life? Do you think there's too much emphasis on I have to know? You know, what do you think about that?
I've struggled with this one a lot because if I'm honest, I don't know specifically what God's asking me for. Like, I've been the kind of person where God puts me in a place and there goes my phone. Good job. I don't need my WhatsApp right now.
I'll get you in a group.
Yeah, just tell me from
I just added to a group.
Beth's drop phone.
Beth's drop phone. Are you in there? How did you do that so quick? Sorry.
I've learnt.
But I've always been seeking God and going, God, what do you want from me? And whilst I know I'm to love him, to love people, I haven't had a specific person group or profession. I don't necessarily feel like God's given me that.
Yeah.
But I think he has asked me to steward, I guess like you say, with money, what he's put in front of me and what he's placed in my hands well. I've got a verse here, which is why I picked up my phone in the end.
She's so proud.
It's the Bible. We like the Bible. It's coming. I'm glad.
1 Peter 4, verse 10 to 11 says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him to be the glory and the power
Great
forever
stuff.
and ever.
Yeah, great.
So I just feel like sometimes we can get caught up on the whole, what's my calling?
Yeah.
Calling is simple in terms of loving God, loving people, and there's things like justice and other things that we need to care about. But just follow what he's asking you to do.
Brilliant.
If you know what that is, do that. If you don't know what it is, do what is natural to you because he's made you like that.
Very good.
In the chat, put something you really appreciate about Beth. Go on, write a few things down there.
Yeah,
Look, you
nice.
all love the presence of God. So here we go. Brief answers. Describe an encounter with God, Tom, that shaped you.
Kids, good night. Sleep well. Aanyway, carry on.
A
An encounter that shaped me. Do you know what? There are moments for me. It's what comes in the around and about of the encounter. There's many times when I've felt the presence of God very tangibly in my life, and that's through worship or through prayer or through moments where faith has risen up in me. But I guess a few spring to mind. I remember encountering God on a weekend away as a 16-year-old. On a Destiny weekend away at Dyke House. And that was a long time ago. That's nearly half my life ago. And on that night, it's the night I told Philippa that we were moving to Leicester. It's the first time I talked to her about it. I knew I had to talk to her that weekend, but that was the moment. And I couldn't find the moment to talk to her, but it was in that moment. It was after encounter and after worship. Something about that was a holy moment.
Yeah.
And I could say many other times, but for me it's moments like that where out of an encounter with God you find yourself making a decision or stepping into something that you would have never done before, and God has helped you in that moment. So for me that was significant. It was a significant part of my life when we moved to Leicester.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
I'm talking to Philip about that, yeah.
Brilliant. I love that somebody's just put something in the chat called Future Billionaire 92. That's very exciting.
Who's that?
I don't know, but we're currently trying to open a compassion centre.
It's
Need
just the
another
timing.
£100,000. Anyway, that'd be fantastic. Thanks, Tom. Josh, how has this year changed your connection with Jesus?
I've found
It's hard to know where that starts, isn't it? Because I guess it's the whole way through your day. So, daily walk. So, me personally, I'm quite spontaneous, like I said. So, I have to keep what I'm doing quite active and creative where I can. So, when I read the Bible, this year I'm going through the Bible chronologically, so I've got to be a bit more structured with it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
A lot of Old Testament.
Yeah.
I'm not even in the
In
New
this
Testament.
part.
I'm behind by quite a lot. But anyway,
Great stuff.
I'm still going through
the
it.
Bible in a couple of years.
27 days behind. Come on, Beth. Come
Ask
on.
me next year if I'm still there. No. But so probably last year's example was better, but I had 7 different bookmarks in my Bible, and I'd go for a different one each day, so that I was kind of fresh in different parts. Creative with it, writing, drawing-ish. Like, I'm not that good at creative stuff. But for me, one thing that was really important was driving to work. I used to always listen to music on the way to work, and I love worship and music and different things, but I thought it was really important to stay silent for a bit of my journey. And because I'm someone who's not very good at sitting still, even now, like driving to work, I was being active, but I couldn't, I could still be quiet or just listen to God. So I found my drive into work is important as one, to pray through the day ahead, but also to listen. So that's something I'm continuing to learn, to listen. But yeah, it's just involving Him in the everyday, in anything that happens. Should I be asking God about it? Probably, because He cares about it all. So yeah, it's hard to define it because it's through all of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking now about leadership.
Yeah.
And the fact is, if I was a young adult, I don't know of 3 better role models than the 3 of you. I mean, you are, we love you. We're just so proud of you, and what you bring not only to TLC but to people. But so let me ask you some leadership thoughts for you. So describe a leadership lesson you've learned recently to pass on.
A side thing, a life lesson I've learned is get good internet. You just need it. A leadership lesson I've learned recently is, someone talked to me a while ago, and they said about if I walked into a room and there were 30 children and 3 grown-ups, who would I spend my time with? And I, without any question, of course, I'm running to the 30. Let's play games! Okay? So, because, I love working with children. I love spending time with children. And they challenged me. They said, you realise in that moment you can make a difference in those 30 lives, but if you go and take the time to invest in those 3, then together you could go and make a difference in 120 lives. And I'm like, but it's not as fun, is it? But there's my lesson. It's giving those around me who've got a gifting and the ability and the closeness to Jesus the chance to do the things I love doing, even if it means me taking more time investing into them and less time with the 30. Yeah. And I believe that recently we're starting to see the fruit as the 3, the 4, the 5 begin to impact those other groups of kids. So there's a lesson.
Yeah.
Very good.
In your role of leading all of our compassion work and different things, what bits do you love most?
Well, obviously I love helping people in need. I've always been someone who wants to look out for the forgotten or unnoticed. So that kind of, maybe that's my calling. But anyway, but yeah, just realised revelation.
Live on camera. Wow.
Anyway, it fulfills that part of my calling or whatever it is. But I also love the fact that we get to chat with people who refer people to us. So we have people who are in need, but we also have agencies, organisations, charities who refer people to us. We have funders who are people in businesses. We have all sorts of connections that wouldn't otherwise have a link or a bridge into a church. And Open Hands is only one step away, or is TLC. But we get a chance to talk to so many different varied people because of that connection. Which I love.
Absolutely. Is it easy to lead your peers, or is it a challenge? Because lots of the people who work with you are the same age or just a bit younger. What's it like?
Again, and we touched on this earlier on, I've not found it hard to lead my peers in terms of people who are the same age or older than me. I have found it a challenge at times to lead my friends. So in that, when you're close to someone before you lead them, maybe your expectation of that individual is higher than it would be of somebody that you don't know.
Very good.
My challenge ongoing in leading my friends as well as my peers is not everyone has my capacity, and that's okay. So that's been a bit of a challenge in terms of leading people because I want to believe the best for the ones that I'm looking after, especially that I'm friends with. But actually what I'm passionate about isn't always going to be what they're passionate about, and the time that I invest isn't always reflected that way. So leadership, if you're called to it, God's always going to give you the grace you need for the season. But make sure that you're measured in what you expect people to achieve and still cheer them on in the rest of the areas of their life.
Oh man, great. 10 seconds, what fills your bucket?
I love travelling, I love photography, stuff like that. I love seeing other people go further than me.
That's
Yeah,
great.
come on.
Things that you invest, yeah.
What fills your bucket?
Children and music, but not children's music.
True. Good.
What fills your bucket?
I love driving.
Ye-
I love sport, and I enjoy time with family, Alice and Levi in particular.
Yeah. So, what would you want said at your funeral?
He's got the book out.
Yeah.
The book's out.
Can you go first? 'Cause,
Should we go last? So, yeah, I don't know. Go for it.
I thought of 3 jokes I want told. The first joke is, knock knock, who's there? Not Tom.
Not Tom who?
No, that was the end of the joke.
I was pretty sharp there.
There was, why did Tom not cross the road? Because he'd already made it to the other side.
yeah, nice.
I quite like that one. And also, this would be in my eulogy if I could choose. He lived his life like all of his McDonald's orders. He went large, treasured the nuggets, and always came back to the sauce.
That's good. That's good.
Repeat.
I feel like that's it.
So, Philippa, if you're still watching and you outlive Tom, that's what you need to
Let's say
know.
we'll put it there. Go on. What fills your bucket?
We've done that one.
I can't remember, was it?
what-
What you said at your funeral? You got distracted.
I want people to say something along the essence of, he lived life to the full and always believed the impossible.
Yeah,
That'd be
great
great.
stuff. Great stuff.
That's holier than thou.
let me ask you, as we're coming to a close, people are listening, tuning in, or they're catching up.
Yeah.
If you could say one thing to everybody on the camera, what would you say? Who's going first?
Go on, Beth.
I'd say that the things that people don't see are as important as the things people see, but also the things you do and don't do are as important as the opposite of that as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
If I can talk to those who are in a leadership position in some way, whether that's in your job or whether you're involved in church ministry, what I've learned is you can't take people further than you've been, and you can't give what you don't have. So if you're leading, make sure you're always full and make sure you're always pressing in further.
Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. That's from Colossians 3.
There
Clothe
you go.
yourself with love
Yeah, cool.
in all that you do.
How important is Jesus in your life?
He's everything, isn't he? So, yeah. Very.
And you?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fully answer the question. I don't have a clue where I'd be without him.
Yeah.
I'll be a mess. I'll be lost.
It's hard. When you love Jesus, I would say people talk about the trouble with evangelism and their struggles with evangelism about worried about what people will think of them. For me, I guess the barrier is not what people will think of me, but what people will think of Jesus.
Yeah.
And I would say I love Jesus to the extent that sometimes I find it hard to share him with others that may not see him the same way I do.
Wow.
I guess that's love, isn't it? But I have to trust that everyone has the chance to make their own decision. I guess the fact that I build my life on his teachings and try and be more like him. Is there a greater sign of love, respect, and honour than just wanting to be like him and embody who he is? He's wonderful.
Amen. 3 quick questions from the chat tonight. How are you held accountable as a leader?
Me personally, with my enormous amounts of hidden sin. That's a joke, by the way. I sit with Pastor David regularly, especially in that period where we were newly married or leading up to marriage. And you would ask me all the hard questions. You'd ask me about boundaries and how far am I pressing into my devotions, what have I touched recently, all of it. Actually, being held accountable, this is why in Christian leadership ministry, the idea of covering is incredibly important.
Yeah.
So beware of anyone who's a maverick, who doesn't have somebody say no to them.
Yeah.
Because if they're not accountable, they can do what
We
they
should
want.
all be under a
We
cover.
should all be under a cover.
Yeah.
Alice and I, in terms of our leadership journey, we are covered by you. We're accountable to you and Susan. And we know that you're accountable to others. I have authority because I'm under authority.
When you first applied for your post here of leading Open Hands, what were your thoughts that were in your head?
Can I do this? I guess. Like, it's a big thing, and also, so I'd followed, Sue Spout, who led it before, everyone has their own way of leading, and it's easy to think, oh, can I do that way? But it's all about finding how is God going to allow you to lead in your way.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And how do you balance ministry and family life? There's an hour.
Well, so this last year is very unique in that it's hard to see that as the picture for everything, because ministry and life has all happened under the same roof
That's it.
for a lot of this year. Having separate spaces in the house has been important. I've lived my whole life where ministry and life is trying to find balance. I've lived my whole life as a little kid in the car trying to hear what my parents are talking about in the front, and just hearing little nuggets of information, little secret things that are going on in life and in the church and everything. And I understand that kids hear everything. So for me, if there's a day like today, I left here earlier after being here doing some filming, having a meeting. I left and went to pick up 2 of my daughters from school, and in that moment they don't want to hear about my meeting. No. They just don't. They can ask. What they want is me present. So as I went over there, I got focused, I got out the car, and in that moment it's them. And that is important. And it's not going to be hours and hours on end. With ministry, sometimes it's just pockets of time, but it's about those valuable moments that you remember. I don't remember every second of the day you being at my beck and call, because it wouldn't have been realistic. But what I do remember is this: when you came home from work, you'd untuck your shirt, you'd go to the toilet, and you'd come out and play cricket with me in the drive, and then you'd go to the toilet again, and then come back out and play some more.
Enough, lad, enough!
You'd always have time. And I see now that actually is a cost. That takes effort. It takes conscious decision to lay down, to put your suit jacket down. I don't wear a suit. You did. And to stop and to get the bar stool out, pick up the ball and hit some sixes over the road to the bus stop. So it's about finding those pockets of time and making a definite decision that I'm going to devote myself fully right now to family, right now to home.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're so grateful that you took a few minutes to listen, and brilliant wisdom. And wherever you are, why not put your hands together for these 3 amazing people and say thank you tonight. Come on. Be blessed. Be blessed.
See you soon.